So Dr. Kirkanda, he creates a video that says Danielle and Johan, privileged colonizer. That's the title, right? So that's the phrase that's attached to my name. He does not know me. I don't know that he's watched the whole show, but the commentary that he offered, and this was the only thing that I watched, someone sent it to me, they're like, you gotta see this guy. He basically, the whole episode is him talking about himself. And then it's like a clip of me telling Johan, I said, please be careful. I don't want to get into an accident. And he says that I'm controlling and I'm treating him like a child and all these terrible things about me. And we literally had gotten into a car accident the day before, and it was a day off, and production had to like save us and the car and get us a new car. It was like a big ordeal. So it was a legitimate concern to have.
Yeah.
But like, he doesn't know
that.
That's
the context. Yeah.
Yeah. So he like paints this picture of me. And then at the end, there's actually nothing he ever says that calls me a colonizer, a privileged colonizer. Like there's no even context for the title. So the title is just for the keywords because that's what people are saying about me. But the actual piece wasn't about that. And here's a guy who's like a therapist. Right? He's supposed to be speaking about this. I know. You've done a show with him. That's why I bring him up, because it's like there's other bloggers that are by therapists that are saying like terrible things about you and really making their lives hard. And people believe them because they're therapists. That gives them agency.
It's very
that
dangerous.
gives them power.
It's authority.
It's very different if you're just like, there's this other guy who's like this terrible 90-day blogger. He doesn't have an actual job. He doesn't have skills. Like this bully doesn't talk shit about people all day. Nobody's really taking him seriously.
That's that low level content.
Yeah. You get out there and you've got degrees and you've got clientele and people believe you. That gives you some authority.
And he does have authority. He does. Like I watched a lot of his videos about Danielle and I, and I felt like and I told him this, like one of the reasons that I felt like I watched his was because I felt like he was coming from a genuine place and that he really was like sharing what he thinks we would need in that situation to build a better relationship. But so I haven't seen a lot of his stuff. I've just seen that. But the reason I found him initially was because I was watching, late at night, going through a divorce and just really depressed, looking for some validation that this is the right thing, I guess. I don't even know. And it would just be people talking so much shit. And it's just like, you don't fucking know what you're talking about. It'd be therapists, it'd be commentators. It's like, you have no authority whatsoever. And then, or you do have authority and you're misusing it. And it's such a gross, and that's the thing. It's like the commentators about the reality show, which the reality show is fake. And then the commentators are commenting on that. And then there's people that are commenting on, Dr. Kirk and his content and analyzing his content of analysis of what he's seeing on TV, which isn't even real. It's like,
the only reason I even saw his thing was because so many people put in a Reddit thread, oh, you have to see Dr. Kirk's take on Danielle. He really explains her well. And I'm like, what the fuck is Dr. Kirk? And so I asked my team, like, can you find this Dr. Kirk, whatever the hell he's saying? They're like, this is it. It's just like, I think I would respect everybody more if they ask for my opinion.
Go to the source. Yes.
Yeah. Tell me what happened here. Like my African spirituality in Love in Paradise was quite the conversation. They were like, how did this white bitch get into the Orishas? Like, how did this happen? And so 90 Day the Melanated White called me and asked me. She said, I want to have you on the show and talk about this. How did you get here? That's reasonable. That makes sense to me.
Totally.
No problem. And they approved it. The show approved it. And they don't really approve us doing a lot of podcasts. Yeah. So like, I think that there's something to be said for ask me, show that if you don't get to speak about me unless you ask me.
Yeah. So I actually started saying this last fall. If you don't speak about me unless you want to speak to me. And a lot of people prefer to speak about you and not come to the source. And the funny thing, and this is what really ticked me off, is I had lost my job after getting smeared and horrible headlines, to go what we talked about in last week's episode. I had the whole thing where I'd go in job interviews and it would just go sideways as soon as someone figured that out, right? And they didn't take me seriously anymore and all that stuff. And I had, in a passive aggressive, half joking but real way, in an interview at the end of a 40 minute interview, about unionization and why reality stars should be treated as workers and all of this stuff, I casually made a comment about, I'm like out of money. I went through all my savings. I did everything right. I had savings. I ended up cashing out my 401k, all to just keep paying my mortgage while I was having trouble finding a job and people weren't taking me seriously. Now, I hadn't had trouble finding a job in a long time. Like I've got a good resume. I'm very talented. I know what I'm doing when it comes to marketing. So this was like such an uncharted territory for me. And so I casually said, I'm like, yeah, like they're making millions of dollars. A new season's coming out and I'm going to lose my home if I can't find another job. And the headlines, so that was the headline because that's clickbait. Yeah, that's clickbait. Yeah. But like it was a tongue-in-cheek comment that had truth to it, right? And so that went crazy. And then all the articles about the article went in there. And if you read that article, it's literally like one sentence at the end, and then they made that the headline. But then all these people started commenting on it and saying he blames the show. And then I literally never blamed the show. I said, it's the whole experience has created this environment that I have to learn how to operate in now. That was my whole commentary. And Chris Harrison, God bless him. I know he's got some baggage that he deals with, but his team actually reached out and was like, this didn't seem, he told me on his podcast, he asked me to come on and talk about this. And he's like, this didn't seem like the guy that I saw in Love is Blind. It seemed like very inflammatory. So I wanted to get the real story from you. And so that is come and talk to me. Don't talk about me. And then people from my own season, and I'm not going to say their names because it's not worth it. They would talk and comment on it as if they had any idea what my situation was when any of them could have texted me. And the funny thing is, who did text me out of everyone on the show? Shake. And you know what he did? And I'm giving him kudos because he and I never got along ever. And he said, hey, man, I saw what you're going through. You're a smart guy, and I know you're going to get your feet up, and I'm sending you support. Everyone else just talked about me. And it's like, you have my phone number. You could say, hey, what's going on? Do you want to talk about it? And I'm not even like trying to use it to get on bigger podcasts or anything. Same with Nick Vial when he called me a motherfucker for starting UCAN. And once again, wants to talk about me and to talk about the organization, but won't talk to me. And dude, like we've exchanged DMs. You could DM me directly. I'll even have, I've said I'll have an off the record conversation with you just so you can understand where I'm coming from, because you obviously don't, and you don't care to hear it from me. And so that's a huge issue in this commentary, and then commentary on commentary, is that it's a game of telephone essentially. Right. And then you have people misreporting things that you say. And it's like, what are you going to do? Sue well, you've got to figure it out with your trademark. Sue some idiot podcaster for defamation. Like, is that worth my time? No. And so to me, it's like, if you have it's funny too, because, people who have my phone number, who know me, who were on a show with me, or have access to me because, you're from the universe, right? Anyone who DMs me from reality TV universe, like, you're going to get a response, right? So to have those people, but then have these tiny little podcasts who I know benefit from having, people like us on, but they're brave enough to DM and say, hey, can you come on my show? Would you like to talk about this? Yeah, sure. Let me do that. But the people that have the platform would rather just gossip and talk about you instead of talk to you. And it's disgusting. And it's unethical. It's actually very bad journalism, as you would know.
For sure. My grandmother's knocking on the door. Give me a second. So, okay. That was just
so you handled that really well. Yeah, that was a real trauma dump for me. But that it is frustrating when people won't talk to you, but they want to talk about.
Let me just. Okay. So, where were we? Okay, so I think what you just said there is really interesting. These little podcasters will call you and they'll ask you for, your commentary, or they'll ask you to come on this little show. At the end of the day, what is important is that what you have to say gets out there. So and this is really for anyone who's going to do these shows, as long as your voice is saying a thing, again, that's SEO. So don't be afraid to talk to these little people who don't seem like they have a lot of followers, or don't seem like they have a lot of pull in the industry, because the only thing that matters is your individual voice. It doesn't matter what other people are saying. So, I think it's important that whenever you have the chance to tell your story and explain what your experience was like and talk about it in lots of different ways, I think you should take advantage of that.